Hi, friends. Welcome back to another Pick a Card Tarot reading. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I know it has been a few months since I've been on here, so just real quick, I want to apologize for that leave of absence that I took, but I have moved to another country. I don't want to get super into specifics about where I am and what I'm doing, but I am living in a new place. I'm going to be doing some extended traveling now in this other country for the next year. So at the moment, I have suspended private readings. No private readings for now, but I am excited to get back into doing these readings for all of you. So thank you so much for joining me. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. It really does help out. To all of my returning viewers, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I'm excited to continue to bring you more content. So for now, we have 3 different piles for you to choose from. Today we're going to be doing a reading on what is it that you need to hear right now. So these are going to be messages about anything that you need to hear. They're open messages from the universe, from your guides, from spirit, from however you want to conceive of things. Just random messages for you in this moment, however you want to conceive of it. In a moment, I'm going to show you the 3 piles for you to choose from. So please pick whichever pile you feel is really jumping out to you. And then that will be your reading. Down below in the description section of this video, you will find a link towards that part of the reading that has your reading. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I will be with you in your reading shortly. See ya. Hi there, pile number 1. You chose the card with this bouquet of flowers, and there is a quote on the back. The quote says, "Love is the poetry of the senses." Henri de Balzac. So this is your card here. This, oh, it's not a bouquet, actually. I'm sorry. It's the bleeding hearts, right? Bleeding hearts. So for bleeding hearts, you know, that can be, maybe this might be a message about love, about caring, about the deep feelings within us. It could be a message about all sorts of things. Let's dive into the cards, though, and just get a good picture on what we're talking about today. So first up, we have a fair amount of cards here from the, this is the, it's been so long since I've done these readings, sorry. This is the Smith-Waite deck, thank you. We have the Moon, we have Judgment, and we have the Empress. So interesting, you know, with the Empress card right away, I think that there's a period here of where you're bringing something into the world, right? The Empress card, she's very creative. She creates things out of nothing, but you know, she's depicted as being pregnant a lot, right? So it's this idea of like the gestation of something. It's the beginning of something going on. You've been ruminating on something within. Something's happening within you that is about to be brought into this world. And it could be very literal, you know, this could be actual pregnancy, but I think that's not going to be for most people here. There's some idea or some kind of internal state within you that you've been ruminating on that's getting ready to be brought into the world. And I think it's a thing of love, you know, with this bleeding hearts here. It's like the internal manifestation of your own inward stuff, right? Your own inner desires, your own inner understanding, your own inner being, your you-ness is being crystallized into something physical, something that could actually be brought into the physical world around us. And with the Moon, I think that there's been a fair amount of unknowns involved in whatever this is, right? The Moon can talk about not having all of the answers ahead of you, not knowing everything that's coming. And so there's a bit of that in this reading. There's a bit of this understanding that you don't quite have all the answers. But what's great about the moon is you can see a lot of times, even though you might not see the entirety of what's ahead of you, there is still enough light um, that the moon is highlighting on the ground to see a small path ahead. And so you're definitely being guided in this reading to take things one step at a time, right? You might have um, big dreams, lofty goals, large stuff that you want to bring into the world, right? And with the moon card, there's this it's being recommended that you don't need to have all of the steps ahead, right? You don't need to have everything planned out. You don't need to know how you're going to get to the finish line because that's not where you are. You're in gestation, right? So there's something about, okay, sorry everyone, I got cut off. There was a person at the door. That doesn't happen to me very often, so that's kind of interesting. Interruptions, right? There may be, with that moon card here, and we're about to get in with the judgment here, but with that interruption that I just had, there's a little bit of this energy of interruptions going on, right? So, I do think that there's something that you've been trying to bring into the world for a while. Maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you see a few steps ahead, and maybe there have been some interruptions on this journey. And maybe some of those interruptions um, have been distracting to you, and maybe at a certain point in your life you would have let those interruptions end things, but and maybe you did for a while, right? Maybe this is an old project, maybe this is an old idea that's finally coming back into the forefront, but it involves every layer of your being here with that bleeding heart. And so there's this understanding that even if you've had these interruptions, it's the idea that we'll never die, right? And so with the judgment card, I think, if you've had these interruptions, if you've had pauses on this journey, there's still this aspect that's coming back, right? There's a lot coming back to you. And the judgment card is kind of showing you that, maybe you have this point where you can understand things better, right? The judgment card, a lot of times it's like looking back on our past with a clearer perspective. So like I was saying, maybe at one point there would have been these kinds of interruptions in your life that would have stalled things completely. But I think that you're probably at a different phase of your life now, right? You're at a different period, you're at a different point. And now there's a lot more clarity about what you need to do for yourself and who you are and what needs to happen. And so with the judgment card here, it's being recommended that you, instead of maybe living in the fear that something else will come up to block you from being able to achieve or create this thing that is the idea that will never die, instead of allowing, maybe in the past you would allow your own mind to stop you, I actually encourage you to take some time to really think back to those previous moments and really ask yourself, well, how much have I grown from those moments? Am I truly in that anymore, or have I learned a deep amount of lessons and understandings to the point where now I'm actually in a much clearer place and position in my life where the same distractions and interruptions, maybe they won't catch my whole being as much as they may once have when I was at a different place in life. And now maybe I have the ability to move past any small distractions and small interruptions and actually bring about the changes and the things and that I'm trying to, right? Because there's something divine about it with the Empress here. There's something about it where it's like this is who you are. With the bleeding hearts, it's like you're bleeding, your heart is bleeding to create this thing, to build this thing, to make this thing. And so it's like it's already yours. I'm getting that sentiment here that this thing it's already yours. You've already done it in the imagination, and now you're in the final stages, which is bringing it about. And it's a challenge to realize a dream, right? It's a challenge to realize an idea, to bring something into the real world, but you have every ability to do so. And so, the universe wants to work with you in making that happen. So open yourself up to that. Um, I'm going to set this one aside for now, and we're going to do a bunch of cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. We have the Magician, the Tower. Oh, powerful. Okay, okay. You have the Father of Cups, which is the King of Cups in most decks. And you have the Mother of Pentacles, which is the Queen of Pentacles in most decks. Okay, so you have a king and a queen. That's interesting. So there's a balance of masculine and feminine energies. And, what's cool is that they're sort of the opposite of what at least American culture has traditionally given the roles to of the feminine and the masculine. Because you have the Father of Cups, he's this deeply emotional being. He's super in tune with his emotions and his feelings. And he comes from a place of clear compassion towards the world and towards himself. And we have the Queen of Pentacles, and she is the master of the material world, and a lot of times she's, the master of finance and finances. But it doesn't have to be about money. The Pentacles aren't always about money. They're about the material world. They're about the physical world around us. And so she's deeply abundant. And so there's this period of deep abundance that's coming from this attunement of your masculine energy towards the emotions, right? So with this being some kind of project or some kind of idea or some kind of thing that you're manifesting into the world, there's this sense here that it's all about taking action on your feelings will lead to material abundance manifesting into your life, the manifestation, the things that just come to you, right? Because the feminine is all about attraction. It's about things coming towards you that you're not necessarily going out and getting. The masculine is all about that driving force, the actions taken to go get something. So actions taken towards the emotional sphere in your life will have the benefit of physical abundance coming towards you, right? So I really do think that there's this sort of creative thing that you're working on. And not everybody here is going to be writing a book or being an artist or making an album or anything like that, although you could be doing any one of those things. It could be some kind of business venture, some kind of idea like that, or it could be anything, some kind of manifestation of your own internal being. This could be going to school to become a doctor even, you know what I mean? There's the idea of trying to be this thing, and then there's the actual steps taken towards it. So if you take steps towards fulfilling a personal dream of yours, the universe will respond with material stability, right? And actual material understanding of things. And so, there may be a fear, especially if this is a creative project, there's always a fear of, will this thing be fruitful? Can this thing be stable for me? And there is a lot of that here. And, if this has to be a step-by-step thing that you put into your life while you do something else on the side, don't be afraid to do that, right? That's something that, a lot of us have to do in life in order to create something. And sometimes that's hard, but there's always that ability out there. So especially if you have some kind of artistic goal that you want to do and you have to have a job on the side in order to support you while you're doing it, don't be afraid to do that. Just make sure that you're working on your goals. Make sure that there is something tangible happening, right? The king goes out and gets things. He makes things happen. He doesn't wait for them to happen to him. And the thing that this king is doing is he's making he's fulfilling his emotional needs. He's creating the things he needs to fulfill his hopes and his dreams and his emotions, his emotional side. He's healing his emotional being. So whatever you have to do that, make sure you're working on that, because the more that you do, the more you're going to have, these fruitful things come into your life. With the Magician, it's important to remember that you can make anything happen in life, right? The Magician is the only card in the entire tarot deck that has all four of the elements present. It has the sword, the pentacle, the cup, and the wand all together. So the magician is the master of all of these elements, and he uses every single one of these to bring about the changes he needs for himself in his life. And so there is this sense here that you have the power and the ability to create that for yourself. Now, with the tower, I think that there is a certain level of the physical world moving for you, right? There's some major change happening in your life right now, and that might be scary, But whatever is happening, like we had those distractions coming in before, interruptions, even if you have any kind of interruptions happening in your life, there's an importance to see, even if something major is changing in your life, a lot of times the tower comes in with physical changes in life. It's when some aspect of our lives changes where we have to do something else, we have to move somewhere else, we have to, some aspect of our physical life has changed. If you have something like that occurring to you, maybe this is a great opportunity to start a new routine. If you move to somewhere else, or you've started a new job, or something has happened in your physical life where you've had to change things up, you have a lot more time in your schedule, something. Use this as an opportunity to build a schedule for yourself and a habit and a routine for yourself, a daily routine where you're actually starting to move towards completing whatever this dream and this goal is. And this might be a long-term project. This might not be the thing that you can finish in a day, in a weekend, in a month. This may be a year-long struggle, a multi-year struggle. Who knows? So start to find a way to build this thing into your life, small steps at a time. And so if you have any kind of major changes happening in your life right now, like I was saying, this might be a great opportunity to build a new routine where you're actually slowly working on this thing. And, by slowly working on it, you're going to fulfill some of these emotional needs that you have from yourself. And you stop feeling like any of this woe is me feelings of, oh my gosh, I can't achieve the things I want in life, blah, blah, blah. If you're slowly working on something, even if it's a little tiny step every day, even if it's 15 minutes towards your goal every single day, it doesn't have to be every day, you can take the weekends off, whatever schedule works for you, but a little bit each moment, that is where you're going to start feeling really satisfied with yourself. You're going to say, well, at least I did this today. And you'll start to see over time that you're actually able to build this thing and create it. And it might be a slow moving process, but a lot of times it's those slow moving processes, as long as it's fruitful and you're actually doing something, then it's actually worth it, right? It's actually real. It's actually happening. It's actually manifesting into the world, even if it's a slow manifestation. I mean, a lot of times when we think about manifesting, this big term, of bringing things about in the world, we think about these magical, instantaneous things where, I wrote a certain set of words down. I put a picture on my vision board, or whatever manifesting technique you do, and then we think and then tomorrow it's gonna show up, and then my life has changed forever, right? A lot of times it actually doesn't work that way. We have these goals, we have these intentions that we set for ourselves, and we can actually make them happen. We can bring them into the world, but a lot of times the real world works very slowly, and it takes actual action, but it doesn't have to be a huge action all at once. It can be a small little bit, a little at a time, and you're actually able to bring about massive major changes. Think about the glacier, right? Glaciers move incredibly slowly. They don't move very fast at all. They move an inch a year, right? But think about how massive glaciers completely changed the entire geographical environment. They carved away mountains and left giant, humongous boulders in their path, right? So use the glacier as an inspiration towards bringing about something into your life, bringing about change into your life, because by using that, you're actually going to create huge, lasting, life-changing changes into your life that will last with you for the rest of your life, instead of short spurts of things that may be here today and gone tomorrow. A final card comes from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and it's teaching. Interesting. So as this process moves on, I think there's a certain level, like we said, of with the interruption coming in this reading, there's a little bit of, letting certain things that happen in your life be lessons for you. How is the universe teaching you with or what is the universe teaching you with all of the small, strange setbacks, weird things, small movements, big changes, all of those. You can always look and say, okay, what is this thing teaching me? What is this thing doing for me, right? As opposed to, what am I doing? What do I have to do? Or that this thing is just random. Sometimes things are random. Sometimes bad things just happen in life, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. That's for sure. But even if something awful happens, sometimes we can allow those setbacks, those situations to give us answers that we didn't know in life. They can teach us about ourselves. They can teach us about our own resilience. They can teach us about the world in ways we didn't know. So everything that happens in life has the ability to be a lesson if you look at it that way. And then with teaching as well, especially with this judgment card, what has happened in your past as you bring about this thing in life? What is it that you have to teach the world? Maybe this creative project or this thing or whatever this vision is a way for you to give back to the world, um, and to teach the world something that only you know, because we're all unique and our perspectives are all unique. And so, we have things that only we know in this life. And so there is this opportunity in this situation for you to truly ask yourself, what is it that I know that only I know? And how can I share that with the world? And maybe this thing that you're working on is deeply important to the whole world, or because it shares a perspective that's needed to be heard. And so, if there's any kind of internal hangups about bringing this idea into reality, remember that this could have an opportunity for you to teach others, and maybe this thing is actually being a teacher. Who knows? That could be the case too. Maybe being a teacher might be your dream or your inspiration, and you can bring that into this world as well. So whatever, take this as it resonates for you. But that was my reading for you, pile number one. I hope that it resonates. I'm really happy to be back. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you ever have any questions for me, you can find more information on my website, www.junodrum.com. I'm currently not giving private readings, just so you know. I just, from where I'm living right now and what I'm doing for work, I can't give my private readings. But if you ever need any questions from me, or you want any advice that is super simple that I might be able to answer in a comment, always feel free to leave comments, subscribe to the channel, or you can message me on the website as well. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you later. Bye. Hi there, pile number two. Welcome to your reading. So you chose the reading here with the Roses card. It's a very pretty card here, and on the back of this card it says, "It will never rain roses. When we want to have more roses, we must plant more roses," by George Eliot. So I'll let you take a look at that. So this is a really interesting card, right? Because it has both the roses symbolism as well as the rain symbolism on it. So there's this little... From this one, I get a feeling of bittersweet. When I look at it, there's something bittersweet about this, right? So there's something here that is beautiful, very much a beautiful situation, a beautiful thing, but also something kind of sad about it too. So, in a sense, I'm feeling a little bit of like a heartbreak energy, but not necessarily. Let's take a look at some cards here. So, first up, we have 3 cards from the Smith-Waite deck. We have, oh wow, the Death card. Yeah, okay. I definitely feel some bittersweet energy from this. Don't be too scared about the Death card. It doesn't, it rarely means like actual death in tarot. It tends to mean the end of a period, a major change in one's life. Sometimes it can even refer to sort of an inner change, right? A personal inward transformation, the death of a former version of yourself and the beginning of something new. Next, we have the Page of Pentacles. So this is another new beginning here, and this is a new beginning in the material world. And
maybe moving to a new place or being in a new environment, starting a new job, those kinds of things, new beginnings in the physical world around you. And then we have the King of Wands, and the King of Wands, he is the master of his inspirations and his passions, and he follows his inspirations and his passions wherever they lead him, regardless of what's going on. He follows his heart. He follows his drive. And so, for this, especially because I do feel a little bit of this feeling of bittersweet. There's something has ended in your life, is what I'm feeling, right? And it's coming from the pursuit of your own passions, your own drives. So it's almost like I'm getting the feeling that you may have had to walk away from a situation potentially, because you are walking towards the things that are important to you, right? There's something where I'm getting at some point in the past, whether this was the recent past or the distant past, but either way, it's really affecting you where you are in this moment. There was a need to put behind certain aspects of your life, of your situation, that weren't working anymore, because there are more important things for you here with this King of Wands. It's like your mission towards fulfilling these dreams and passions for yourself have led you down this road, this path where you need to recreate or redo aspects of your physical environment, physical life around you, in order to achieve these things. And I think that you've decided to do that, right? With the Death card, I think this isn't something that's in the future. I think this is something you've already done. And so this has led to a big life change for you. And like I said, it doesn't always have to be a physical change with the Death card, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you left your house and you moved somewhere else, although with the Page of Pentacles, it could mean that. But I think it's like you've left a version of yourself behind. Maybe you felt you needed to mature in a certain way, or you felt that you needed to move away from people that were no longer resonating, or places that just didn't fit, or some kind of environment that just didn't work anymore. And so, by doing so, you're committing to yourself here with this Page of Pentacles. You're committing to building a world for yourself, an environment for yourself that is um, that is good for you, for your happiness, for your personal growth and spiritual fulfillment um, and fulfillment in general. And I think that you've decided to go on this journey, and now you're really kind of at the forefront of it, right? With this Page of Pentacles, and um, the pages, they're the student, they're the beginner, they're first starting out on this. So I think that there's something kind of unknown to you in this journey, and that you're at the beginning of, and as the King of Wands, I do think that you've been on this pursuit for some time now. It's just something's happened recently that's put you in a new version of this. And so it's like you're starting this almost for the first time, even though you've already been pursuing this, if that makes sense. There's like an energy about starting, almost like starting over, but it's like starting over from a place, having already informed a lot, right? So I don't think it's going to be a long study here as the page. I think it's really, things are going to work and move really fast and really smoothly, because you have this deep base of knowledge in your past to build off of. So let's see. We have more tarot now from the Wild Unknown Tarot, and let's pull these out. We've got the Daughter of Cups, which is the Page of Cups in most decks. So you've got another page here. We've got the Son of Cups. Interesting. Two cups energy. This is great. The Son of Cups is the Knight of Cups in most decks. You have the Daughter of Swords, which is the Page of Swords. Okay, so many pages. You really are at the starting point of something. You are kind of beginning this new journey, very much so. So whatever journey you were on in the past, whatever period you ended, has left you being, very, it's the king, right? So it's left you being very developed, very, like you have an incredible amount of life experience and wisdom to build off of. But for whatever reason, in this moment, you actually are very much a beginner again, and that's okay. Sometimes when we're it can be really challenging to be at the beginning of something, particularly if you've already done a lot of things in your life, you've already been to a lot of places, you've already experienced many things. To be at the beginning of something can feel really daunting because we have a lot of it's easy to put yourself down when you think about, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm starting over, or oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm a beginner at something. I've already done so much. But just because you're at the beginning of one aspect of your life doesn't mean that you don't know anything, right? And it doesn't mean that you don't have a vast amount of experience in many other areas. And in fact, you know, by embracing learning something new, doing something different, being at the starting point of something, by fully embracing it and taking it, as it is, you actually give yourself a gift of being able to move through those stages quicker, right? And you can only be at the beginning of that thing once. As you continue to pursue something and move forward, you won't be at the beginning again, right? So it's almost like sometimes it's the hardest thing is to just start something. Um, Next card is the Death card again. Wow. Oh my gosh, so powerful. Okay, so you have this twice. Whenever a card shows up twice in a reading, it really is the most important card of the entire reading. So to have death come up twice is pretty intense. And like I said, it doesn't mean actual death here. The final card, of course. I felt this card at the very beginning, and I didn't mention it, but it's pretty amazing that it showed up. We have the Eight of Cups, right? And I do feel that. I was feeling that when we were talking about the King of Wands. It was like this idea that you had to walk away from something, and that's what the Eight of Cups is all about. It's about letting go of something and moving on, really putting one phase of your life behind you, because with this Eight of Cups here, it's not depicted in this deck, but many times it's depicted as a person who's walking towards these mountains, right? He's walking away from these cups towards something else. And so, a lot of times it talks about being at the phase where these eight cups that were lying here, they worked for you for a long time, right? They were what you needed in the moment for a while. But as often happens to us in life, we we outgrow things, right? We outgrow phases, we outgrow places, we outgrow jobs, we outgrow many things in life, right? And and a lot of times it's so easy to stay with something because it's familiar, right? It's hard to do something unknown, and particularly if you've been through difficult situations in your past, or if you had a difficult upbringing or any of those kinds of things, or you've just experienced hardship in life, which a lot of us have. A lot of times it's much easier to stay with the thing that you know, even if that thing is wrong for you or bad for you or even harmful for you, because the fear of the unknown is that much greater. But when the Eight of Cups shows up, it's saying like, no, there's actually a nine of cups and a 10 of cups ahead of you, right? There's something big and beautiful and incredible waiting for you that may actually be far greater than anything you've ever experienced in life, waiting ahead of you. And so the only way that you can get there, though, is to realize that the things that are around you no longer fit, and that it is okay to put those cups down in pursuit of more, you know, and it's okay to want more for yourself. It's okay to want more in life, you know. Sometimes, you know, we can, it can seem sort of selfish sometimes in a negative way to try to pursue your own happiness. You know, sometimes there's some weird, we've inherited some strange morality, I think, for those of us in Western cultures that have had Christianity for so long. You know, sometimes it can seem morally wrong to pursue um, our own happiness, right? But that's not the case at all, because you know, eh, we in our culture sometimes we tend to think, well, um, what do they call that? When I can't remember the specific term, but when a lot of times in our culture we tend to think that someone's happiness comes at the expense of somebody else's happiness, right? That one person can't have things, that if one person has things, somebody else automatically doesn't have something, right? Um, but we don't have to live in that world, right? That actually is not a requirement of society, that things don't actually always work that way, and they don't have to, right? Because think about like all of the inspiring people out there who make so many people in this world happy, by themselves being happy and then sharing that happiness with others, right? So, by pursuing your own hopes and dreams here, it might feel potentially like some kind of selfish situation, but in reality, if you are pursuing these big dreams that you have, you know, there's a huge potential for those things that come from that to be then shared with others and shared with the world. And in fact, maybe, you know, maybe you need to think about this big, massive dream of yours by not pursuing it. You know, ask yourself, what are you depriving of the world by not going after this thing? Because maybe this thing is important for more than just you. You know, maybe this is something that's much bigger than you, and the fact that it is an unrelenting, undying, unending internal dream of yours may be a sign that it's deeply important and worth pursuing. Um, your final card comes from the Shamanic Healing Oracle and is the Psychic Development card. Yeah, okay, so interesting. You know, with this one coming up here, I do think you are a deeply intuitive person, and it's more of that internal nagging, right? That I was just mentioning, right? This sort of idea that um, it's the undying internal um, dream that won't go away, right? If these things keep popping up inside, you know, as you pursue life, that's something to listen to. You know, that's an internal intuition that is deeply important and necessary to follow, because the more that you start trusting that and following that, the more that you're able to bring this into the world. And I think that you've actually decided to do that. With the death card coming up twice, I do think that you've already decided and put action towards change and towards massive change. And you know, sometimes the death card can come um, out of nowhere. Sometimes, you know, or you know, with the death, a lot of times you kind of know that you're coming into this phase change, but it's something that like eh, the whole world around you is also reflecting it, right? It's when there's this idea that our internal states and our external states reflect one another, and that you know, with our inner world, as we heal our inner world or try to come to more peace within, that we automatically start creating an external environment that will reflect that and seeking that out in our external world. And I think that you've decided to change something really, really massive in your life here. And I do think there's a bittersweet element to this, you know, with these roses and the tears. It's like Well, and it's funny because it will go back to this quote here too. It's like if you want to have roses, you got to plant them yourself, right? And so I think that it's something that you've decided to do. Is I think you've realized maybe, maybe you've had this dream for a long time, and maybe for a while, like this card was saying, right? It doesn't just rain the roses; you have to go and plant them. Maybe for a while you were kind of just hoping that this thing would pop up, right? That it would just show up and fall in your lap and you wouldn't have to do anything for it. And I think that, maybe that led you down some challenging roads where maybe it shaked your whole faith in yourself and in humanity and in many things around you. And so, in order to um, but then even through that, though, I think that there was this sense of the undying dream, that even in your darkest moments, when you've, or your most cynical moments, or in your most bleak moments where you felt like nothing is possible, the dream wouldn't go away, right? And so because of that, I think that you've decided to pursue this thing, with everything that you have. And that's where it's bittersweet, right? Because I do think you probably had to walk away from a certain amount of things from this. And walking away from things is not easy. It isn't, especially if there's people involved that you had to walk away from, especially if those were important people to you, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes the most important people to us, um, sometimes we need a break from, or sometimes we need to, um, we have to let go a little bit of certain things. And I'm not saying, you have to walk away from everyone in your life or something like that. But, um, sometimes we hold on to friendships for a really long time, because of sentimental value, because they were really important ones. But maybe both people are in completely different phases of life now, and it doesn't make sense. And maybe trying to keep that relationship together becomes detrimental for whatever reason. And take that as it resonates for not just friendships. It could be any kind of relationship, um, you know, romantic relationships, family relationships, whatever. It doesn't matter. Sometimes we have to put a pause on things or walk away from things, and places and people. Maybe, for some people watching this, it could be deciding that you have to move from somewhere that you love because you want to pursue some dream that's too important to you and you can't do it from where you were. Something like that. There's so many different interpretations of this reading, but I do think that there is this element of having entered into this brand new phase of life here and really being at the beginning of something. And I didn't quite get into it yet, but to have the cups come up twice like this, it is a new beginning towards um, creating happiness for yourself. And I think that's where the movement is coming. The nights, I always interpret the nights of the reading to be movement happening within the reading. And so in this reading, it's movement happening um, towards emotional fulfillment, right? And so I think that that can be an important reminder to yourself, even if, because of these bittersweet moments, if you're feeling a bit sad about certain aspects of these major changes you've decided to pursue. I think that there is this importance here in remembering that you're trying to make yourself happy here, and that you're building the foundations for yourself in this moment to really bring about lasting fulfillment in your life. And 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 I think it's deeply important to you to do that. And so remind yourself that, commend yourself for making these changes because they're not easy. And even if you feel, sometimes feel bad about if you had to leave certain relationships or something, or if you had to walk away from certain things, reminding yourself that you're pursuing deep emotional fulfillment and that you are worthy of that deep emotional fulfillment. Reminding yourself that you are, because you are. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, like the only person that you have this kind of control to help in this way is yourself, because everybody has free will in this life. Everybody is living their own lives. Everybody is pursuing their own goals and dreams and aspirations. And at the end of the day, the only person whose dreams you can truly fulfill are your own. And so um, it is worth pursuing those. It is worth finding happiness because, like I said, that happiness can then be shared with others. It doesn't have to be just yours. And the byproduct of your own internal emotional fulfillment and willingness of happiness can reverberate all around you. And the world deserves your happiness to be reverberated around and experienced by everyone around you, you know? I mean, think about what it's like to be around a deeply miserable person, and nobody wants to be around that. You know, even people with deep emotional sympathy for people like that, it's hard to be around that long term. It is. And like I said, I mean, nothing wrong with anybody who decides to be miserable. You know, like I said, this is a land of free will. The world is such that we can choose to do that if we want to. And I think that there is wisdom in misery to be learned. Um, but it comes to an end, right? It's the eight of cups here, right? Even the lessons that can be learned in those dark moments, after a while, we outgrow that lesson too, right? And so, what comes after that? But the rebuilding and the pursuit of true happiness or true inner peace, right? We could say that. Um, Suffering is something that exists in this world, and it is not necessarily something we can ever get rid of. But it is not the only thing that exists in this world, and happiness exists as well, and the pursuit of it uh, is fulfilling, in my own opinion. I think so. Um, so yeah, so go out there and get it. Live your dreams, right? Pile number two. I think you're already doing it. I think you're already moving in that direction. And if you've been through some difficult situations getting to this moment, just remind yourself that you're worth it and that you're worth pursuing this. You are. You really are. So go out there and get it. All right. I'm going to leave you there, pile number two. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said in the intro, I have moved to another country, and so just based on the job I'm doing and my time commitments and a variety of other reasons, I've decided to pause private readings. So I'm not currently doing private readings. But if you need to contact me at all, feel free to leave a comment. I love hearing from everyone, so please comment. Let me know what you think. Either way, I love hearing from you. If you want to contact me personally, you can still find a contact page on my website. You can find that at www.junodrome.com. Feel free to leave me a message there. I get everything that pops up there. And yeah, subscribe if you enjoyed. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, pile number two, and I will catch you later. Bye. Hi there, pile number three. Welcome to your reading. So, this is your reading if you chose this card right here from the How to Be a Wildflower deck by Katie Daisy, one of my favorites. And this card has a drawing of a flower on it. And so, I'm getting some really strong messages of you're kind of in the driver's seat here. You're drawing your own destiny. You're creating it yourself, Um, and the back of the card says, create something beautiful. And we have all these art supplies and stuff. So there's some strong creation energy here, and it could be quite literal. of like actually drawing something, but it could be much more figurative as well. Not everybody's going to be literally working on an art project here. It could very easily be something where you're being asked to create something in your own life, to bring about something. So let's take a look at the cards. First cards come from the Smithwaite deck. We have the star. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card. Okay. All three of these piles have been somewhat similar this week, which is interesting. Next comes the world. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, this is beautiful. All right. And your final from the Smithwaite deck is interesting. Okay. We have the Five of Cups. Okay, so there is some clear messages here. And like I was saying, strong similarities to pile number two. So there may be, you may have felt drawn to that one as well. So feel free to watch that if you want some extra messages. But let's dive into this reading. For the star to come here with the Five of Cups and the world, there's sort of this idea that you're on the other side of something. I'm getting that pretty clearly here. The star comes after the tower card in the deck. And so the tower tends to be this big cataclysmic life change. A lot of times it's an external change, right? It's something happening in your environment. Something happens and everything changes. And the star comes after that as sort of this like um, this clearing after the darkness, right? This sort of clearing after the difficulty and into this sort of beautiful opening moment, right? A very peaceful card, and it can talk about, sometimes it's like the calm after the storm, or the coming to a place of feeling good again after setbacks or difficulties or intense happenings. And so I think that you have entered into this phase here, with the world card. The world is like it's like a graduation, right? It's the completion of a cycle and moving on into the next phase, the next chapter, moving on up. Um, and and so I do think that there's something that's happened where you've ended something, um, and you've come into this new phase, this new period, that's quite hopeful. There's a feeling of real hope here, that whatever previous cycle you may have experienced may have been quite challenging, and you've been left with um, this feeling of true hope and inspiration after this. With the Five of Cups, this card is it's actually the grief card in the tarot deck, and surprisingly, it's actually one of my absolute favorite cards, even though it's quite a challenging one. You can see this man is mourning over these three cups that have fallen in front of him, and it talks about that. It talks about the real, true sadness that comes from loss, and there's no sugarcoating loss here. Loss is a difficult thing. To lose something, to lose someone, to lose a place, to lose anything can be um, devastating, and that feeling of grief is necessary to experience in order to heal. Our feelings are, even the challenging ones, especially the challenging ones, it's more important to feel those feelings truly and deeply than to try to walk away from them. When we try to ignore our feelings, instead of them actually going away, they get buried deep inside, um, and then they get stuck there, and unexpressed feelings linger within, and can cause real havoc in your own personal life. And so, it's important to face this challenge head on. He is facing this, he's mourning this loss. But what's really great about this card, though, and where I think that you kind of have entered into this period, this particular phase of the grief, is behind him there are two cups that are still remaining upright. And what's pretty amazing about that is it talks about how, even when we lose things in our life, um, it's rare that we lose literally everything, right? That in fact, there are still things in our lives that are still present, and oftentimes we can come to a new perspective after we've lost certain things, um, to learn how to cherish the things we have remaining, and that in fact, sometimes I interpret this particular card to mean that, um, even though he's lost these three, maybe he was trying to juggle too many to begin with. Maybe 5 cups was too many for him, and actually 2 was the perfect number all along. And so by losing these three, like I said, with grief and loss, I it's not to diminish that, right? It's not to say that it isn't, terrible or difficult or challenging or hard. Um, those things are true, right? I'm not negating that at all by this, but sometimes we can learn how to see the things that are truly meant for us when they stick around. And we can have a further appreciation for the things we really do have. And that gratitude can help us get through the grief, right? It can help us move through the difficult situations by finding these things. It's not to say that these things mean that the difficulty is okay necessarily. It just means that, um, you know we have these built-in tools to find aid in difficult situations. Um, so let's keep looking at the cards here. So we have a bunch of cards now from the Wild Unknown Tarot, and I'm just going to read them all out. We have the Sun. Ah, this is great. Yeah. So I really do think that you've already turned the corner on whatever this difficulty is, and now you're on this next phase, which I think, may feel disjointed because you may have gone through extreme difficulty in your past. Even if it's not the most recent past. I do think you've been through some very challenging moments here, and so to enter into, moments of true happiness and joy after such moments, can be a little, bizarre, right? Because it just feels, strange. You have the Eight of Cups. Interesting. No, no, this is the Seven of Cups. Sorry. Yeah, Seven of Cups. Okay. All right, and we have the Two of Cups. So many. There's a lot of Cups energies in this reading. So definitely, working through some emotions here. Like I was talking about emotions a little bit earlier. Sometimes the emotions can be really hard to truly experience. I know for me personally, I tend to push my emotions away, and so it's something that's just my own personal stuff to just have to like really work on experiencing them, being in them, allowing them to come. We have the Three of Wands. Okay, interesting. Yeah, 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 yeah. I kind of get a picture of what's going on in this reading. Um, and we have the Nine of Wands as well. Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nine of Wands. Okay, so, you know, I really do think that this next phase that you're in, that you've started, this new chapter that you've entered into, is one that is actually setting up lasting happiness into your life here. Um, Truly lasting happiness into your life, and that's something that I don't know if you've experienced fully, to this particular level, right? And and so there's a need to be open to it, right? With the Seven of Cups here, it's almost like you have many pathways forward here. I think maybe it can be difficult sometimes to realize that there may not be one single thing for us, right? There may be multiple things that we can choose in the future, for ourselves. Many pathways forward, many, opportunities available to us, and that sometimes none of those are wrong, and that can be hard. It can be really daunting and challenging to be faced with a lot of options because it can be difficult to choose. A lot of us are really indecisive. I know I can be pretty indecisive sometimes, and so it can be difficult to be presented with a future outlook where there really is no wrong choice here. But I'm feeling that for you, and I'm feeling that all roads lead home for you in this moment. And so it's really coming back to this original card. It's you can kind of create anything you want for yourself at this point. Um, it's just a matter of figuring out what that is, right? With the Three of Wands here, I think that this next chapter that you're in is truly this period of planning um, and figuring out what it is you really want. Um, really weighing through your options and figuring out what it is that you want for yourself because you have a wide open future. And it's like the universe is working with you now to bring you true happiness here with the sun. And so it's up to you to um, allow yourself to have an unlimited imagination moving forward, and to allow yourself to see whatever possibility may be in front of you because there could be many, many of them. With um, the Nine of Wands in this deck in particular, because it's this staircase here, for this deck, I tend to relate this card to taking things one step at a time, right? And being okay with taking things one step at a time. You can't reach the top of this staircase here in one step. You have to take it one step up the stairs. So I think that as long as you trust that the step you're taking in front of you, if you can see a step and you take that step, as long as you continue to trust that that step will lead you towards this happiness that you're looking for, if you choose to do that, you're going to be led in the right direction. And so it's a little bit of a trust, being in trust here that you're being asked to do. And I haven't talked about this yet. We have the Two of Cups, and so a lot of times I personally relate this to an internal feeling of becoming united with yourself and moving forward from a place of united inner and outer beingness. But a lot of times, too, this is actually kind of a romantic card and it talks about romance. So I think for some people, this isn't going to resonate for everybody, but I think for some people, there may be some kind of partnership. Sometimes it can be a business partnership with this card as well, but a lot of times it is romantic. So there may be some kind of romantic partnership in your future, um, if you're open to it, and there may be a need to be open to such a thing, right? I rarely do romance readings, and it's kind of rare for me to have a romantic message come up here, but I do feel a little bit of that for a lot of people watching this, that there may be some kind of romantic relationship in your future that you got to be open to and willing to allow in, right? And it comes, though it doesn't come from seeking it out. I don't think. I think it comes from following your own personal happiness, and that the more that you follow your own happiness, the more you'll be put on a path to meet somebody who matches that, who will meet you in the same place, right? Um, so yeah, keep an open mind around that if that resonates for you. Our final card comes from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and it's perception. Oh, interesting, right? Um, and you see the yin and yang symbol there. So yin and yang, in this is a Taoist symbol. In Taoism, it talks about the grand balance of the universe, right? That there are positive and negative forces that exist all around us, but they don't exist separate from one another. They actually are deeply interconnected. You see, there is a little bit of white in the black section, and there's a little bit of black in the white section of the yin yang symbol, and there's a little bit of feminine in the masculine. There's a little bit of masculine in the feminine. Um, no opposite exists alone, and in fact, they have to. exist with their opposite, right? If you think about flipping a coin, right? You can't have a coin with only one side. It's the nature of the coin to have two sides. It will always have two sides, regardless of what picture is on either one. If you think about the object itself, it has two of them. There are two sides. You cannot have a coin that only has one because a coin exists in three dimensions. There's going to be two of them. So this sort of talks about that idea, right? That in the world that we live in the reality that we live in, it's not just good, it's not just bad, it's not just happy, and it's not just sad, right? That they kind of exist within one another. And so it kind of goes back to this grief card, right? That there is actually joy present within the grief because there are things remaining, and that both things are true in this card. Um, and there needs to be some acceptance of both of them here, right? And so I think for you moving forward, right, as you move into some truly beautiful moments in life, you know, it isn't to say that nothing will ever be terrible again because nobody can say that in life, right? And it isn't to say that everything will be horrible moving forward because there you can't say that either, right? There's an importance in learning how to perceive all of it, and that's called non-dual thinking, right? If you look that up, non-dual perspective is one where you can attempt to be present, right? In Buddhism, it's called the middle way, the middle path, right? It's coming to an understanding that balance is actually what we should be striving for, and not necessarily ultimate happiness or ultimate, suffering. Not that anybody would be wanting that necessarily, although some people probably would, because some people are whatever. Everybody's doing their own thing here. But I think it's important to remember that to achieve a sense of peace, it kind of requires being in the middle of things. That's at least the Buddhist perspective, and it's one that I tend to take myself, because I've been the most at peace when you accept things, right? Because, like I said, I mean, difficult things are going to keep happening, but the point is not to dwell on the difficult things. Um, it's to be, sit with them. Yeah, like when you have these difficult feelings, right, and grief, you have to sit with those feelings. You have to be with them. You have to be present with them. But you can also, kind of be gentle with yourself as you're going through these. Um, be present with yourself, and then be open to the beautiful things that also want to come into your life, because I see, a very beautiful opening for you here. And I think that that's a part of this too, is to remember, if it's challenging for you to think about being happy at this point because of what you've been through, there's importance to remember that that you deserve that happiness, right? You do, because we all do, and and it's open to you if you want it, right? It's open to you if you want to walk in that direction. Yeah. So anyway, pile number 3, I'm going to leave you there. That was my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. I am happy to be back and giving you these readings. As I mentioned in the intro, I've actually moved to another country, and a part of my job and a part of just how my time is scheduled at this moment, I cannot give private readings right now. So I will only be giving these pick a card readings for now. I won't have private readings on my website, but you're always welcome to leave a comment. I love hearing from you either way. So please do comment and subscribe to the channel if you're new, or if you've been tuning in for a while and you haven't yet, please do. It helps a lot. And if you do need to reach me privately, I am available through the website still. So you can find me at www.junodrome.com if you need to talk to me for whatever reason, or you want to send me a hello message or whatever. I am available there still. So feel free to hit me up there. And I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.